the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Glenn, how are you?
I'm really good.
You know, something that I've noticed for a lot of people that have any kind of high stress job or the type of job where you're just so on and go all of the time is that a lot of the times there's this crazy paradox where you might be laser focused and calm during any kind of emergencies or any of those stressful situations, but then super anxious and restless when you're at home.
Yeah, I think we find that calm in the silence, or that craziness in the silence, more abnormal than being calm in a pressurized situation. Because if you're going forward and dealing with these high stress, tense situations on a regular basis, you don't know how to find yourself in that calm.
Yeah. And so on calls, your training kicks in, right? Like your breathing slows, your mind sharpens, but at home, there's no script. You don't have any kind of training for it. There's no radio traffic. There's no direction. There's no clear mission. And suddenly your body might have a tendency to just not settle. Yeah.
I think we find ourselves, finding busy work for ourselves, finding things to keep us going and to get restless to where you work for being at work because you don't feel comfortable. You don't feel at home when you're at home.
Yeah, and I thought that we could talk a little bit about why anxiety often shows up after those dangerous calls or the sense of danger passes, and how the nervous system learns to feel safer in chaos than it does in calm, and what it takes to actually be able to retrain your body to be able to relax no matter where the circumstances.
Yeah, I think it's important to be able to be calm in those high tense situations, of course, but you should be able to come home and be even calmer and be able to show up and be present with your family, with your loved ones, and do that on such a regular basis to where that's the most commonality.
Yeah, the psychological concept here is one that I had never heard of before, and it's called state-dependent regulation. And this describes how the nervous system actually learns to be able to function optimally only in certain conditions. So for first responders, regulation becomes tied to things like your structure, urgency, clear roles, external command, high stimulation even.
And I think when you start regulating that into where if you don't allow yourself to get to that point at work to where you're able to calm yourself down in the chaos, because when you respond to it that way, and when you in turn go home, and that's why it's important to have those kind of that checklist as you're going home to be able to turn on and turn off like a light switch, being a first responder or not being one.
Yeah, when those conditions disappear at home, then the nervous system actually loses its anchor. And this could lead to things like your anxiety, irritability, hypervigilance in places that should feel super safe and calm. And I think that there are reasons why you're calm on calls, but a little bit more anxious at home. And the first is that your body trusts your training more than your safety. And so that structure can feel safer than the stillness.
Yeah, I think when you're leading, you have that structure and you have everything in place all the time at work, and you have everything aligned to where you know this is how it's going to be. This is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm going to respond to and address it. I think we fail as individuals is, we train all the time on how to respond to these critical type incidents because they can be life or death situations. We should be training just the same on coming home and to turn off that whole first responder mindset.
Something else really interesting is that adrenaline masks anxiety when you're on duty. And Clint, maybe you've experienced this before, where once the adrenaline fades, either the anxiety rushes in or that's when all the questioning begins in your own mind.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately that's the perfect thing. I've never even recognized it. Is you start second guessing yourself. You start questioning yourself. You start questioning your partners because you're like, what could have I done better? What could have changed the outcome of how I responded to this incident, especially when things go sideways.
Something else to consider is that when you're at work, you have so many different manuals. You've gone through so many different structures of training and training underneath certain individuals that might have given you a broader range of training. But at home, it requires emotional presence, and there's no checklist for connection or vulnerability.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important for us to train to create those checklists, to create those habits, to be able to turn off that response and to know, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I'm at home. I'm going to show up and be with my family. I'm going to take care of them. This is how I'm going to show up every time I do.
Something else too is that your nervous system never fully downshifts. So you leave the call, and for most officers, they clear it out and they go to the next one.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy to do at work. It's so like you go to a tense shooting situation, 20 minutes later, you get broken from that scene and you're going to a domestic. You're going to a traffic collision, and people never know what and how we deal with it or what we just came from. And it's being able to shut off that emotional response or that response to be able to show up to help people in general.
I think too is that you could associate calm with the loss of control, because that quiet, it leaves too much space for thoughts and feelings.
I think we start delving into our own psychological response into things when, you sit in that quiet and not having that noise, not having everything going on around you. It distracts you. You don't have all these distractions leading up to be able to retrain your focus onto what's really important.
You and I are such creatures of habit, and there are a lot of ways to be able to bring that calm into your home. And for us, one of the things that we do is we create a really predictable home routine, and having that structure, I think, does a great job at helping your nervous system to feel grounded for you and for I. An example of this is, we like having people over to our house seldomly. And the main reason for that is because things start to feel unstructured when that happens. And this is our kingdom, and you and I do a great job at just protecting the sanctity of it. And so there are a lot of things that we have to do, like, making sure firearms are put away, or like there are certain things like that we regularly wouldn't have to do. And so, I think that it's important to just have something predictable to where your nervous system has something that it can go back to be anchored. Yeah,
it's having that foundational setup, especially at your home, is being able to, like, thinking of the holidays that we went through recently and of all the different dynamics of those changes of routine that are out of the ordinary for us, being able to transverse it back into our normal day to day. We still have these kind of non-negotiables that we keep in place, but on those certain days, we change it, we do it, and then it's done.
I also think it's important to use physical regulation before emotional connection. And this could be something that you do on your own by yourself. For us, it's always, Clint, you come home. Sometimes I hear the Cybertruck, sometimes I don't. So it's unexpected sometimes when you're actually walking through the door. And, I'll stand up, and I usually have Bo in my arms, and the two girls are jumping around at your feet, and we try to calm them down enough for you to be able to make your way over towards me, and we hug and we kiss, and I get to look into your eyes and welcome you home. And so that, I think, is a level of regulation before you kind of downshift into that home mode.
Yeah, being able to have those cues, being able to have that warm, welcoming embrace when you come home, to have that shift of response of, I'm at home now, I'm not at work. This is the calm place, and I'm okay with that.
Stillness and quiet can be so uncomfortable, especially in the world that we live in today. And I would challenge anybody to just have that for 5 minutes every single day, to where you have nothing else, no tech, no TV, nothing, just total stillness, and allow yourself to be able to practice that stillness, but in a very controlled way. And it doesn't have to be hours. It just has to be intentional and quiet. And you can start out with just minutes.
Yeah, it's so good to have, and when you start having that, it's funny because Ashley came downstairs from working the other day, and I was just sitting we have this chair in the corner of the room, and I was just sitting in that chair. I had just edited a video, and I was just sitting there enjoying the calm, the quiet, and just sitting there for a minute.
Mind you, this is a hidden chair to where we still had some Christmas trees that were in front of it, and I couldn't see him. And so I'm like looking around, and then all of a sudden he just pops up out of the corner.
Yeah, it wasn't a weird spot for me, but I'll go sit in that chair and edit videos, and so I was just taking a moment of quiet.
Yeah, and I think why this episode matters is because if you're calm when lives are on the line, but you're anxious when nothing is wrong, then you're not broken, you're just conditioned, and there's a lot of ways to be able to remedy that. I hope you've gotten some value after today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.